Welcome back in the pursuit of wealth, Tilray traders and investors. It's Rod with Pow Group, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news and interviews. Today is Saturday, September 13th. Hope you're having a great weekend. And in this video, we're going to be discussing the topic of Tilray brands. Will they be allowed to import into the US and other Canadian producers as well? I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on this. Maybe there's not even a need for them to do it. I'm curious to hear what everybody else has to think about this subject. It came up in the live stream yesterday. That was one of the questions. I think it was Thomas that had that question. And he was basically saying that the new administration was never going to allow Canadian LPs to import. So that's exactly what I want to address. I discussed it yesterday on the live stream, but I wanted to dedicate a specific video for it. Before we jump into it, though, make sure to smash the like. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell. You'll be notified on any future videos and when I go live. And you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. So I do think that the most likely scenario is that Tilray is going to acquire another company in the US. They've already said multiple times now that they would like to do other accretive and strategic acquisitions in multiple interviews. He's hinted that, hey, if the US reschedules to Schedule 3, or if we see full-blown descheduling and legalization, well, that could open the way for and the door for a merger. They might buy somebody, right? And then you have to think as well, they have MedMen, which we'll dive into that here and more in just a second. But eventually there's going to be, the blue chip phase as well, right? You could see, I always say if I had one wish in the MJ industry, it would be a Tillray and a Cureleaf merger. And I do think that that is possible, right? You're going to see these mega mergers. So we have to think a little bit more outside of the box, right? A lot of people have a tendency of being very short-sighted and not really, like I said, just seeing the true potential here and having a big enough time horizon as well, right? This isn't going to happen anytime soon. In my opinion, the blue chip phase, like that just means like all the clear winners, right? The cream of the crop. I don't think that the blue chip phase will be here until the U.S. legalizes, and after the U.S. legalizes, the biggest capital market and economy in the world, it's probably going to be a few years after that, right? Maybe 5 to 10 years before we know who the real, might not take that long because everything happens so fast these days. But that is what I think is the most likely scenario. And then we're going to see these mega mergers, right, between these LPs. And Cureleaf makes a lot of sense because it owns a Canadian LP, Northern Green Canada, and they operate in the same international markets. And if you think about Poland, right, over in different European countries, in Germany, etc., you have to grow your product there, right? So that's something similar. I think they would just take the similar approach in the US and they would grow it in the US and once federally permissible. And my daughter's crying in the background. She's not having the best day today. She had a fall yesterday at daycare and she got a cut just below her nose. So poor thing. Anyway, she's having a little rough go today. Poor thing, like I said. Love her to death. All right, hopefully it's not too distracting. Tilray, so they already said that they're not getting any, they're not impacted from the tariffs in the US. So this is huge, and this is another reason why I don't think they would want to import. I do think that import will be allowed, right? I think eventually, just like this article here, eventually we'll get there where they treat it just like alcohol and tobacco. And look at Governor Greg Abbott issues executive order to protect children from hemp products. And he said he's deferring and directing to the Department of State Health Services, Alcoholic Beverage Commission, and the Department of Public Safety, right? So in my opinion, it should be treated just like alcohol, right? We should have free reign to do whatever alcohol does. And alcohol is poison. So maybe we should even have more perks and breaks. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think that's another reason why they would just want to buy an operator in the U.S. and then grow it, made here, great beer made here. That's one of their other mottos. And yeah, they're probably going to take a similar approach with why would they want to ship it across country lines and have to pay, a tariff or, just any kind of fees in general. They'd want to cut down on distribution. They already have all the distributions centers as well and connections. So, it won't take long at all. And like he said in this video here, actually, it was this one, yeah. When I interviewed Erwin Simon, he said, if I could sell medical in the U.S., like if we get rescheduling to Schedule 3, essentially, I could be in that medical market in 60 to 90 days. He said if we could sell MJ beverages, we could be in that market in 60 to 90 days as well. So they've already got the infrastructure, folks. So they're just ready to pounce. They're just waiting for, more reform, essentially. But with that being said, I want to share with you this video here because this is Irwin Simon, the CEO's vision for MedMen in the US. And I'm just going to pause it here.
And you heard me say before what I would want to do, and I don't want to be in the retail business. I would want to use the MedMen brand to sell to other retail stores in the US. I would do a license deal where they license the IP and let, like McDonald's or Burger King, open up MedMen stores, in the US. That's what I would like to do with MedMen, and that was my, original intention. And you heard me say before.
There you go. So that's very telling. And, I do think that they'll utilize the MedMen brand. They will potentially buy another operator as well. And then, like I said, there's room for the mega merger phase where you're going to see, we don't need thousands of producers in Canada. There's over 1,000. We don't need, and they're dwindling though. And we're seeing, tons of consolidation and mergers and acquisitions, M&A. But in the US, the M&A is going to pick up as well, right? There's still so many operators in the US. And eventually you're just going to get mega mergers between, the big LPs and the big MSOs. But curious to hear what everybody else has to say and thinks about this subject. One thing I wanted to bring up here just in closing, who would have thought legal MJ in Germany is shrinking the illicit market by almost 90%, folks. So this is a huge wake-up call, in my opinion, to the US. And yeah, well, I think that, the US is never first or never last, but I do think that we're going to see some major reform soon. I've always said that after crypto legislation is done, we have one more bill, which is the TLRY Act. If that gets approved, that's pretty much the end. Anti-CBDC, I guess. But that's the major one, right? The Market Structure Clarity Act, defining what's what. And then once that's done, then I think they're going to pivot over to MJ policy. And that's why I think they've just been delaying everything, is because they're waiting for the crypto, because you're probably going to see MJ run similar to 2018 when crypto topped out. MJ went on a big run. I think similar setup is coming this time around. And this time it's the US legalizing or seeing reform, whether it be rescheduling. But they're not going to stop at rescheduling, right? If it gets rescheduled to 3, that's just going to be a stepping stone, right? That's just going to be more work to do, but it's going to be easier to get the rest of the work done, which is ultimately getting to full-blown descheduling and legalizing it at the federal level, similar to Canada and Germany. So we're going to follow in their footsteps. It's like I said, they're never first, they're never last. Even in the crypto race, there was a poll out the other day in a news article saying that the US is now second in the crypto race. So they were so behind for so long, right? And chastised and ridiculed. And look at the previous SEC. They get a new SEC and a new administration, and they just leapfrog everybody. And they're now in second, only to India. So something similar will happen with MJ, right? Where you'll see the US embrace it head on and pedal to the metal, and you'll just see the US dominate. So and then it's going to be an interesting time. Tilray said that they would accept crypto for payment. So this is, couple that with AI, and oh man, it's going to be a fun few years. And like I said, I think that the crypto legislation will be here very soon in the next month or two. And then after that, I think it's MJ's spotlight in terms of policy in Washington. All right, going into it there, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. We'll continue the conversation in the comment section below. It's Rod with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you on the next one.